Last evening we were struck with the devastating news that the RFS has lost another member of its family, a young man fighting fires in his local community, died in very, very difficult circumstances, and I can't express enough our sympathy and condolences to his family, his loved ones. And I want to thank Commissioner Fitzsimmons, who flew down there last night and spent the night with the family, and I'll allow the Commissioner to provide further details of that tragic incident. In addition to that very sad fatality, we do have 3 injured RFS volunteers, at least one who's in a very serious condition in Melbourne Hospital, and the other 2 as well. And this brings home to us what New South Wales is going through. Every firefront is a threat to life, is a threat to people's life as they know it, and the devastating news last night really brought that home to us. And these circumstances are never easy, but as Commissioner Fitzsimmons will explain, especially in this case, the circumstances are very tragic, and our heart goes out to everybody who knew him, who worked with him, and of course we can't explain or appreciate what his family and loved ones are going through. In addition to that very devastating news yesterday evening, the South Coast and southern New South Wales is under heavy threat of bushfire today. We know the RFS and our emergency services personnel have already issued warnings for people to evacuate certain areas, and we hope people have heeded those warnings. The fire fronts are already at emergency level, and it's only 8 a.m. in the morning, and with 5 fires at emergency alert level already. Today is going to be a very tough day for people in the South Coast and in southern New South Wales, and we know in particular it's complicated because many people are holidaying. Please take the advice. I know from the briefing I've just received that overnight many alerts were issued, many contacts made with people to provide them the best advice on what they should do. Some communities are now being told to stay put, whereas others are being told to move where it's safe, and we ask everybody to please heed the warnings of the experts, please heed the warnings of the RFS and the emergency alerts that you're receiving. Again, I want to issue our deepest gratitude and thanks to all of the volunteers on the ground, to all of our fire and rescue people and police, and when you receive these briefings you appreciate the level of coordination and support each of the agencies is providing each other is outstanding, and that has struck me as a shining light through what has been a very difficult few months for New South Wales. In particular, we ask everyone to be considerate and thoughtful today. It is New Year's Eve and people are moving around, and please make sure you don't use roads that are deemed to be dangerous. There will be a lot of road closures down in southern New South Wales due to the fires already, and we need everybody to act as responsibly as possible, as cautiously as possible, and please don't think you're the expert. Take the experts' advice. We don't want anyone to get in harm's way, and your actions may unintentionally harm so many others, and that's the last thing we want to see today. There's about 98 fires still burning across the state. Half of those are what we call uncontained, and the fire risk down south again is very severe today, with very unpredictable circumstances, weather gusts and weather conditions being created from the fires themselves, and this level of unpredictability means it's more important than ever for people to take the advice of the experts. Commissioner?
Thank you, Premier. As the Premier indicated, tragically last night, shortly before 6 p.m, we had reports of a truck that had been blown over by a wind event at the fire ground down near Jingellic, near the Victorian border. As it turns out, not only did a truck get blown over, but another command vehicle in the same extraordinary weather event was also blown over. Tragically, on that truck, one of our firefighters, a much loved and respected local firefighter from down near the Holbrook Colcan area in the southern border team, tragically lost his life. 2 other colleagues on that fire truck, one, the driver, was taken to hospital with some injuries but was released later last night. But unfortunately a colleague on that truck has been transported to Melbourne and is in the Prince Alfred Hospital in Melbourne with serious injuries, including burn injuries. On that same fire ground, through the same weather event, we also saw another vehicle and a couple of firefighters enveloped by flames as this weather event moved through the fire ground. Those 2 firefighters suffered burns to their face and their airways. We understand that at least one of them was sedated and intubated, and both were flown for medical treatment to Sydney to Concord Hospital. The group officer that was in the command vehicle, another volunteer, suffered some injuries. There was some bruising, some muscle damage and minor injuries like that, but was released last night from hospital as well. The firefighter that lost his life was Samuel McPaul, Sam McPaul, a young man, 28 years of age, well respected and admired throughout the local community and in his local brigade. He leaves behind, tragically, a beautiful wife, Megan, who is pregnant with their first child that's due on the 4th of May. As you would expect, the family is grieving, and it's been a very difficult night, and I would be fair to say I don't even think the comprehension has set in yet at the enormity of the tragedy and the loss. Megan and Sam have been married now for nearly 18 months. They were married only in April of 2018. So we've got a completely devastated family. We've got a devastated local community at what has just been an extraordinary loss. The local crews that we were able to catch up with in the field at the accident scene described what they experienced as truly horrific. They described it as an extraordinary wind event, describing it as a fire tornado, or a collapse they even believe might have been a collapse of a pyroconvective column that had formed above the main fire front. That's resulted in cyclonic type winds that has moved across the fire ground and has literally lifted up a 10 or 12 tonne fire truck and flipped it onto its roof, trapping the people inside and tragically killing Sam in the process. As I say, that same weather event has moved through the fire ground, posing all sorts of dangers and risk to other firefighters, including injuries to the two that have been transported to Sydney, and of course the commander whose vehicle was also flipped over in the extraordinary wind event.